So let's talk about Facebook support. So I don't know if you guys saw the announcement, but Facebook is kind of ramping up their support of mobile. Last week they announced that they were announcing Open Graph Mobile. Did you guys see that at all?
Yes, exciting.
What do you think about that? What do you think about Facebook's initiative into mobile?
Well, this is a really exciting development as a mobile developer. You know, I've played Farmville and Cafe World and all the different Facebook type games over the last several years, and followed the companies that were making them. And that was really one of the most fascinating parts. While some of those companies are having financial problems now, Zynga, we are seeing where they did make a
No, we lost him.
Facebook.
You still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We heard they made a lot of Facebook.
Oh, okay. Sorry. They made a lot of money off of Facebook, and it was really an exciting time for the development of those who wanted to make apps for Facebook that were completely web-based.
Yeah.
Well, now that Facebook is making a shift towards mobile first, that they recognize that everybody is a platform, web browsers are kind of becoming a second place. This opens up a whole new opportunity as app developers to hook into Facebook to make even more revenue. And let's face it, tools like Farmville, let's use that as an example because I think that is a classic example of using Facebook to make a lot of money. They made their money through Facebook based upon ad revenue and then in-app purchases. But it was the social networking that Facebook provided that truly made all of the money or made the connections possible so that Farmville could become as popular as it was.
No, that's a very good observation. A friend of mine one time, back in the day when building a Facebook game was kind of a big deal. I was asking him, I was like, why are people just rushing to build all these games on Facebook? And his one word was distribution. It was all about distribution. It was all about being able to, even if you created a free game and built up a user base, then you had a platform in which to launch the next thing. So it was all about distribution. And so, yeah, the social aspects of that are huge.
Yeah, and when you see all your friends are suddenly playing the next big game, well, what is that game? Why is that such a draw?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you don't want to be left out, right?
Right. And so I'm going to go check it out, even if I don't like it. I'm going to check it out once or twice to see if it is something that I would enjoy playing.
Yeah.
And as a professor who teaches gaming, I consider it my responsibility to play as many games as possible. So. It's a tough job, but somebody has to do it.
That's right.
So the real question is do you write those off on your taxes or what?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Hopefully nobody from the IRS is watching.
Just keep your
They're
receipts.
always watching.
That's right.
Well, one of the other parts of that is just like you said, the mobile first. I think that's a very good phrase to write down and maybe just stick it on your monitor and think about mobile first. Because people are going to access the website, sure, but they're much more likely. There's many more hours in the day when they're in front of their mobile device than when they are in front of their computer. Even if they work at their computer. They're still going to be out in the evening, out in the morning, and still have access to that via their mobile device. So they, just statistically, they're going to be in front of a mobile device more than their actual computer. So it just makes sense to and give them the tools, or give the developers the tools to build on that platform.
Right. And that posting of, hey, I just completed 19 in Burton's latest game, and be able to post that to Facebook, that's that whole viral taken care of. Let's face it, viral marketing is one of the most powerful tools you can use to make your apps well known. Now, having gone through the API for Facebook and the tutorials and all of that. This is not something that someone who's brand new to mobile app development or developing with Corona or any platform for that matter, this is not something you dive into lightly. This is definitely an intermediate to an advanced level of programmer to be able to do that. Not that you can't figure it out, but you're going to have a lot of frustrations getting multiple tools to work friendly and nice with each other. Corona takes care of a lot of the headache for us, but you are doing network communications, and that adds to the complexity of your application dramatically.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, definitely. One of the things that, along with the announcement, Facebook came out and said, look, we've got some technology partners that we're going to be working with as well. And of course, Corona Labs is one of those, and Corona SDK is on that list of tools that you can use to build out your mobile apps, which we're very excited about. And so we went out and we created a version of Facebook's Scrumptious app. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but basically it's an app where you can select the food that you want to eat, where you want to eat it, and who you want to eat it with. And when you do that all through the mobile app, then you can post it to your timeline and share it with all your friends. And so we did that. We included it in the sample code. So when you download the Corona, when you download Corona SDK, there's a sample code /networking/scrumptious sample app that you can download and look at. And it has about, I think it was like four or five files to it. One was like a logout file. Of course, you have your main.lua. You had a login file, a logout file, and then there was like I can't remember what the other one was called, but it was like not the main file, but where you did all your actions. So there was like this other working file, and then you had all your configuration files and that kind of stuff. And in that primary file that you were working with to interact back and forth with Facebook, it's doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So you use things like a Facebook.request or Facebook.show dialog, and so you're either sending a request to Facebook or pulling information back from Facebook, and then once you've got it, once you've got that information, you have to kind of pick through it and then take it and format it and display it on the device. So as far as the API on Corona is concerned, we do login, logout, request, and show dialog, and right now that's it. And eventually I'm sure features will be added to the API for that, but we try to make it simple for you to just to do those things, because like you said, it can get rather complicated, and so we try to boil it down to some of the primary things that you'd want to do, and leave enough flexibility to be able to do the other things that you'd want it to be able to do.
And of course, if you've got the enterprise version of Corona, you've got the full Open Graph API available to you for being able to integrate all of that.
You're right. Yeah. If you want to go down that road, right? I mean, we would. Yeah. Obviously, one of the benefits working with Corona is to try to make things as simple as possible and not have to worry with all that other stuff.
Right.
But yeah, you can definitely do that if you wanted to.
Right. My recommendation would be, for the starter or the pro, work with the 4 tools that are given to you, because that's going to take care of probably about 90-95% of anything you would want to do.
Yeah.
Being able to do the social networking side of an app.
Right. Yeah, and I think the important part here is to remember that this is getting access to the Open Graph API, but we're still going to have conversations about implementation. What's the best way to implement this? What's the best way to, what's the most creative way to use these things? Because even Facebook themselves, they're pushing towards structured data. I don't know if you looked at the kind of in between the lines of what they were talking about there in their announcement, but they have this kind of thing called Facebook structured data, and it's things like being able to say, I ate this food at this place with this person, and then be able to pass that information back to Facebook in a very structured way so that they can take it and then kind of stuff it into the timeline and make sense of it. And it's very contextual as to how things are, how things relate to each other. So an interesting bit about this is if you go out and look at Google, look at Google rich snippets, and they have been talking about this for a while as well, and Google is even kind of, I don't know, kind of not to say late to the party or jumping on the bandwagon, but basically they are getting behind this whole idea of structured data as well. If you Google rich snippets, you'll find their information about it, where they also talk about microdata and RDFA, which are different formats for providing structured data. And you see that most commonly used in things like recipes or movie data, things where the format is already pretty much known, and you can define it and give your information some kind of context or structure. So I don't know if you guys have seen any of that. Have you read up on any of that stuff before?
No.
Okay.
Nope. Just seeing it now.
I thought my video
I'll
locked
talk
up.
and everybody can see not my face, but what you were just talking about.
Oh yeah, here I'll click on it. Hold on, let me click on it so it shows up in the video. Yeah, so exactly, that's exactly it. Yeah, and it's a good example. It's a good conversation to have because if you read Facebook's documentation on it and also have a look at Google's documentation on it, it's coming. It's almost a maturity of information. You know, originally when we put information out on the web, we just sort of said, hey, you know what, we need a framework for being able to display it. You know, and we had a real rough hammer and nail sort of thing with HTML, and then we kind of got a little more visual with CSS, and XML came out and was like this way of structuring your data, but XML was always this separate sort of file that you could feed back, you know, pass information back and forth. And then with these rich snippets, or this microdata or micro formats or RDFA, all these things are all kind of the same, synonymous with the same thing. They started putting structure inside of your information, I mean, or inside of your, specifically here, inside of your web pages. So you'd have a recipe that was displayed on the screen, but when Google would read the page, they would be able to see that, you know, that there's certain ingredients, that there are certain cooking times, that there are certain, you know, and they'd be able to pick all that information out of everything else, and maybe even, you know, display it someplace else on a totally different screen, like in a directory or something like that. And so Facebook, that's kind of what they're doing with this open graph. You know, they want structured data because I mean Facebook's phenomenal for being able to go through and say, I want to talk to, you know, female moms with college who are between this age and that age, who live in this region, who drive a minivan and also like to watch Justin Bieber videos. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they can give you those 12 people, and you can talk to those 12 people. You know, it's probably more than 12 people, but they're
Justin Bieber. That's like 1,000 people now.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, it depends on what kind of minivan you drive, and. So anyway, yeah, that whole structured data conversation is what it's all about for them. I mean, that's the important, I think, the important part. Mobile first and structured data.